This is Chris from retrosession.org. This is episode 14 of Step into Bliss. Today, we're going to go beneath the surface of this life. We have our jobs, we have stress, family obligations, challenges there, interpersonal conflict. And even if everything's going really well, there's the hustle and bustle, the things we have to do, the to-do list. And it's easy to feel like that's all there is. But I want to help you discover something just under the surface. This isn't all we live for. At least it's not all we have to live for. Most of what I'm experiencing every day is created by my mind. Sure, there's some sense data coming in. I'm seeing things around me, hearing things, sensing things through my skin. But so much of what I'm experiencing is created by the mind. All that stress, all the busyness, every bit of it created by the mind. Even the way I interpret the things I'm seeing out here, it may not feel like interpretation all the time. It really starts to feel like it's what is. So it's not that I have a problem with my neighbor, it's that my neighbor is the problem. That's the way it is. Or maybe my child is rebellious, and that is my child. There's all these little judgments packed on top of reality. And today, I want to try to pull that veil back. All that stuff the mind is laying on top of reality. Let's see what's underneath that. Here's what my experience tells me. I don't have anything to share. There's no dogma. I don't have any truths to tell you what it all means. I'm not even going to consider doing that. I want to see if I can show you something. So this stuff around us, so the table in front of me, the microphone, the chair I'm sitting in, the body I'm here occupying, it's also solid. It's kind of in your face. You can't ignore it. You open your eyes in the morning after sleeping and it's there. There's no denying that. And it's easy to stop there and think that's all there is. Let's see if there's something else. Something under the surface. Something subtle. Something beautiful. Something blissful. This episode is great if you're feeling stressed, if you have anxiety, if you're worried. This episode will be good for you if you're feeling good. Sometimes it's even easier to get beneath the surface if we're feeling good, but we don't have as much motivation to do it because this surface level stuff feels like enough. But we all know if it feels like enough now, give it 10 minutes. Something will change, something will shift. And then we're right back where we started. Wrapped up in all this. So let's go there. It's already here. It's already surrounding you. It's already permeating everything. It's not like we're going somewhere different. We're staying here, and we're staying in the right now. So it's not like we're hiding from this. or just peeling back some layers and examining what's underneath. So a couple things. This isn't an intellectual exercise. It's not something to think about. It's something to do. And likewise, it's not necessarily something to analyze after the fact, though you certainly can. Oftentimes, this deep relaxation, the experiences we can have there, the subtle experiences we can have there, are really not amenable to that analysis after the fact. Sometimes I think that analysis alters the memory or knowledge of what we just experienced. This is simple. This is subtle. We're used to things being in our faces. We're used to things being obvious. We're used to the feelings that arise inside of us that we can't ignore, that color everything. So this is not that. Also, this is not something I can describe to you. This is something you'll have to experience for yourself. All you need is your awareness. I'm sure your body is going to come along for the ride. I'm sure your mind is going to come along for the ride. But let's go. So let's start with some deep breaths. We almost always do this. For these breaths, we're going to inhale through the nose and hold at the top. And then the exhale is going to be long and slow through the mouth. You may hear yourself sighing it out like, ah. And for each of these breaths, you're going to relax every muscle in your body on the exhale. So not only are you letting the pressure out of the lungs, you're releasing the tension in the body. So we're going to take that first one in a moment. Deep, slow, full inhale through the nose. Once you get to the top, pause there, hold. And sigh it out slowly, long, slow exhale through the mouth. Pausing for just a moment at the bottom of that breath. And then inhaling again through the nose. Fill it all up, long, slow inhale. Pausing at the top. Letting it all go. Slowly exhale, every muscle relaxing, the mind relaxing, feeling it all settle into the seat after this breath is gone. Just hang there for a moment at the bottom. And then allow that next breath to come in. But this will just be at your natural rhythm, not forcing anything, not controlling the breath now. And just take a moment. And feel into your body, maybe noticing how those breaths brought a settled sense to the body. Maybe you relaxed a little bit, or maybe a lot. Eyes can be closed if you haven't closed them yet. Just breathing, not doing anything in particular. It's okay if your mind wanders, just allow it to wander. A lot of times we'll tell you to bring the mind back. Just let it go. No need to control. Not even the mind. But notice, if the mind is going places, no problem. We're not bringing it back from that. But notice if you get hooked by those thoughts, if those thoughts pull you in. If the thoughts are just kind of wandering around, bouncing here and there and coming and going, just let that happen. Just notice if you get sucked into the thoughts, if you're chasing them, if awareness of everything else disappears into those thoughts. Then we're just going to relax, not forcing anything away, not stopping the thoughts, just relaxing deeply. Each time we get sucked into a thought, There's a kind of tension there. It's like the surface tension on water. If you fill a glass up to the top, it will hang out there above the rim. That surface tension holding it there. There's a kind of tension that will hold this chasing that we're doing. So if you just let go of that tension, if you relax it, the thought may continue, but it's going to start to spiral out and it'll eventually fade. It's only when we feed energy into these thoughts that they continue. And if that happens 100 times, if it happens 1,000 times, no problem. Just allow it to happen. Just noticing if you get sucked in by those thoughts. Nothing forced. Just relaxing. So if you're not sure what to do, if something comes up, the answer is always going to be relax. Whatever it is. I lead things like this in person, and I can give more personalized instruction, but you don't really need it. You got this. Just relax. Now, notice the joints in your body. Ankles, knees, hips, elbows, shoulders, neck. Maybe you notice one joint at a time, or maybe you just kind of hold them all in your attention at the same time. But notice how the muscles around the joints are gripping those joints. There's a tension there. You're holding on to the joints. You start to relax deeply into all the joints. If you need to, you can start at the tips of the toes and start working your way up. Each joint you come to, letting go. Or maybe you just feel them all at once. And relax and release. You might feel it like tension around the joints or tension in the joints. It can take some practice to get these kinds of relaxation down, but see what happens if you let go of the joints. And as you let go through those joints, you may find the tension comes into a joint you've let tension out of. No problem. Even if you have to do it 50 times, just letting go. All that tension in the joints. Breath coming naturally. If it's helpful, maybe you notice the breath and how it interacts with that tension and how the breath can start to relax through the joints. It's like a light breeze through the body. Relaxing, releasing deep into the joints. Now, relax through your abdomen, so your abs, your stomach. Are you holding your stomach in? Allow it to release. You might feel it expand. And then you might feel it grip again. Some tension wants to come back in, but that's okay. But just let it go again. And again. And again. The belly expands. Maybe you notice the breath starts to fill not only the lungs, but it kind of starts to fill the belly. Anytime it feels right, you can take a deeper breath and sigh it out. That can be helpful when tension creeps in, or if you feel tension that's difficult to release. Sighs are an amazing tool to let go of tension. letting go through the belly as many times as it takes. And if you notice tension creeping back into the joints, just let it go. Same thing. As we go, tension may start to creep back into the places we passed through already. No problem. Just let that go when you notice it. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And if there's a task that you're completing, it's the letting go. If you let go 100 times, that's 100 victories. Just relaxing and releasing anytime you notice tension or tension creeps back in. Now, notice your brain. I know, we don't typically think about the brain like a muscle. I'm sure most of you understand what I mean when I say to relax a muscle. But bring your attention to your brain. Whatever that means to you, there's no wrong way to do it. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just bring your attention into your head. We're really at the surface now. Out at the scalp. Notice any tension there, on the outside edges of the head, the brain. Can you start to let that go? And then we take the attention a little deeper now, a little deeper into the brain. Is there tension there? I know, there are no muscles. Just trust me on this one. If you haven't experienced it, when you find it, you will know. And then you take it deeper. And still deeper. Relaxing all the way down to the very core of your brain, the very center of your brain. Relaxing, releasing. Just noticing if tension creeps in anywhere in the body. Gently letting that go. If thoughts come in, no problem. Same as before, if thoughts come in, just notice if you start to chase them, if you start to get absorbed in them, and drop that. Just relax. There's no special trick to it. Letting go of the tension that holds the thought in place is going to allow it to run its course. Relaxing, releasing. Now, we're going to take a quick body scan. And yeah, we worked on the joints, the abs, the brain. But now we're going to work through the whole body. You may imagine this as a line moving from the body, from the tips of the toes, and it starts to move up through the toes and balls of your feet, passing through arches. As it goes, you relax, you release all the way from the skin down to the very marrow of your bones, and it comes up through ankles and shins, through calves and knees, through knees to thighs, steadily scanning upward, relaxing, releasing as you go. Might start to feel numb through the parts we've passed through. No problem, it's normal. Getting up into the hips, relaxing, releasing through lower abdomen, all the way down to the spine, not just the surface of the abs, not just the muscles, and we're passing up into lower rib cage, through heart center, through upper chest, to the tops of your shoulders. Now take your attention down to fingertips, scan up through fingers, through palms of your hands, through wrists, forearms, through elbows, and upper arm. Passing through tops of your shoulders, relaxing and releasing up through shoulders and neck. Notice if you're holding tension at your jaw. If so, allow your teeth to gently part, releasing, relaxing through the jaw. Then up through mouth, nose, eyes, and forehead to the top of your head. Good. Just pause here. Now you're not controlling anything. You're just breathing. It's your natural rhythm. If tension creeps in, just relax. If thoughts creep in, just relax. It may be challenging. Maybe it happens over and over. Just continuing, relaxing deeply. Now, this part can be a little bit more challenging. But notice that sense of being in your body. It can feel almost like a gravity or a pull that keeps it all together. That sense of occupying a finite space. I think it's probably slightly different for everyone. But even when all the tension is gone, there's still this kind of implicit tension holding it all together. Don't worry, you're not going to go anywhere. That tension isn't needed. It's our way of maintaining control in kind of a subtle way. We want to clench. This is a subtler clench than when a muscle clenches up. A subtler clench than when hands clench into fists or jaw clenches shut. It's kind of the same thing. This is deeper. This is not in the muscles. This isn't in the joints. This is the mind. Grasping. If you find that, see if you can start to let go. If not, that's okay. Just sit in the silence. With that tension that seemingly holds everything together, as you start to release that, it could feel as if your body is expanding, like liquid on a hard surface. Like if you pour some water out on a table, it just kind of spreads out. And sure, there's a boundary, but it's kind of an amorphous boundary. You could feel like the body is getting bigger, maybe heavier, pleasant heaviness coming through the body. You're no longer clenching and holding on, and so you might even feel like you're floating. Or alternately, sinking in deeper. Just noticing what you're feeling, not trying to have any particular experience. So this is just deep relaxation. We're sitting here aware, body relaxed to some degree. Notice your emotional state. Is there an emotional backdrop? So we got through all the physical tension and probably some of the mental tension as well, but is there an emotional backdrop? How do you feel? In this deep relaxation, the emotions may be somewhat blunted. They might be subtler than usual. So just sit with it. It's almost like we're floating in that emotional backdrop. So like a fish who doesn't believe there's water because they're surrounded by it at all times, we're always surrounded by this emotional backdrop, always filled with it. Every experience is filtered through it. What is your emotional backdrop right now? We're not analyzing, just feeling. Maybe you're happy or melancholy, excited, nervous, angry. However subtle, just be there for it. And it can change. It can change moment to moment. Not trying to seize it with the mind. That's not what we're doing. We're not searching and grasping. Just noticing the emotional backdrop. And every time the mind wants to seize onto that, to call it something, to make it something, just relaxing. I really meant it earlier when I said the instruction is just relax. No matter what comes up, just relax. And if you really let the mind release that emotional backdrop and not try to make it anything, you might notice that it does change, that it moves, that it's fluid. And maybe as the mind tries to come back and gain some control and try to move things and analyze things, if you let that go, notice there's a flux that's happening. Is there any stillness? Yes, there's a relative stillness compared to when we're up, eyes open, walking around, talking, working, worrying. This is a stillness, but in that stillness, is there total silence or stillness? Or do you notice sensations? Not necessarily sensations in the body, but is there a sensation of flow, of movement in the body, around the body, outside of the body? Just noticing it, not trying to seize onto it, not analyzing it, not wondering what it is. Just watching. Let's take our attention down to the very center of the body, whatever that means to you. tension at the very core of the body, so the marrow of the bones, maybe, the center of the brain. So not the skeleton that holds us all up, but deeper than that, a kind of skeleton, but thin, right in the middle. Does that feel solid, steady? Or even there, at the very core of the body, is there some movement, some shifting that happens? And then start to bring the attention outward very, very slowly. We're moving out through the bones, expanding out through the brain. It's almost like you're blowing up a balloon. We started at that deflated state at the very core of the body. And now we're slowly inflating that balloon and expanding the attention out through the body, moving out a little further. As we go, noticing the perception of motion, of movement, of shifting that's happening, however that feels for you. As that balloon blows up, as the attention moves outward, maybe that sensation of movement, of shifting, starts to get a little bit more pronounced. It can be very subtle at the early stages of this exercise. But is there ever total stillness? Is there ever nothing? Just noticing. I'm not giving you an answer. The attention is now making its way out through the muscles to the skin. So now we have the attention on the whole body, all the way from its very core out to its edges, the skin. Just feeling what's going on inside the body. Maybe some real movement. The muscles rarely sit still for long, and the internal organs are moving. Stomach is digesting. Things are moving through the digestive tract. All that subtle movement, all that subtle shifting, just noticing. Now, starting from that place, that sensation of the body, whatever that feels like to you, skin down to the very core of your body. We start to expand beyond. So that balloon, the attention, is now moving out through the skin. Maybe you feel it pass through the hairs on the body. You might even feel like the hairs stand on end a bit, and it moves out. The attention moves just beyond the skin. And continues from there. Expanding beyond the body. So if we think of it like a balloon, now that balloon has moved beyond the boundaries of the body. We're still relaxing and releasing as we go. Notice if tension creeps in. No problem if it does. Just letting that go. The attention now some inches out from the body, from the very core of the body, out beyond the skin. Continuing to expand outward. Does the movement, the motion, the shifting that you felt in the body, does that continue as you expand out beyond the body? Just noticing. Mind alert. Body totally relaxed. Just noticing. The attention can continue to expand, moving as far out as you like, and that's going to be up to you. Maybe you get to a point a few inches out from the skin, and it makes sense just to stop there and feel what you're feeling. Delving into the subtlety of sensation when the mind isn't pulled this way and that, the constant noise of modern life, the constant sources vying for our attention, the commercials, the radio, the TV, the internet, the smartphone. What does it feel like to just be? Not mediating our experiences through constant distraction, through constant thinking, analysis. Not filtering everything through the emotions. That's all still there. The thoughts may still be there. The emotions may still be there. The sensation's still there. But it's all just one big experience. And stripping away all that tension, the fear, distraction. What's left? Now it's time to listen. We're not listening with our ears. We have to put into words, listening with our hearts. These messages don't necessarily come in words. If the mind is thinking, if words are cogitating around in the mind, there's something beneath that. Just listening. Not trying to make anything of it. Just listening. Just feeling. Do you feel that? The words will never do it justice. But I call it subtle bliss. It's not that vibrating electric joy or excitement. It's that subtle sense of belonging. That subtle sense of deep, abiding love. You're floating in the midst of it. Do you feel it? It's like a warm embrace. You are loved. You are loved so much more than I can express. Words will never do. You are loved. If you feel that, just relax and release into it. Enjoy. If you're still searching for it, that's okay. Just relaxing, breathing, being. All those distractions, the mall, the TV, the smartphone, social media. They're pulling you away from the subtle bliss, from the love that surrounds you. All that stuff, all those distractions. Sure, we can have this experience. We can use it as a means to release some tension. But it doesn't have to be that only. It doesn't have to be how we end the week, the day. Letting go of the day, moving on to the next one. This subtle bliss, this love can permeate everything, all the time. It is always there. But have you resisted it? The mind does not like it. The mind wants to grasp. The mind wants to do it its way. The mind is so willful. It wants the world built in its image. It wants the world to follow its rules. This, it's free. It's freely given. But it doesn't offer much fodder for the mind. It's like a willful child bored. He wants to rip things up, scream, fight, bring drama. And that's okay. If you choose that, fine. But this place of openness, deep relaxation, of bliss, it's always there. Sure, we work, we support ourselves and our families. There's going to be activity. But it's possible to move about in the world from this place of deep relaxation, from this place of love, of joy, of subtle bliss, however we want to refer to it in words. It doesn't have to be hard. I know if you're going through something difficult, it might feel like it has to be hard. So I just ask you to trust for a moment. Just trust. There is another way to live. And this isn't a boring, empty space. There's so much more depth here than in everyday life, all the petty things happening around us. all the drama, the silliness, the materialism. All of that seems so important. We get so earnest about it. But there's something deeper, so much more beautiful. But the mind wants to pull us back into the world. But we can be in the world without being of it. But it's a choice. I can't force you there. You choose. And it's not necessarily easy. There's a certain satisfaction that comes from the mind grasping onto things and trying to be something important. But will it ever bring satisfaction? Not in my experience. So, we have a choice. And I'm not even going to tell you that one choice is better than the other. We can use opportunities like this to relieve the symptoms of stress, anxiety, depression, overwhelm. Or we can choose to live in, or at least start to live in this space of openness and love. It doesn't mean this is boundaryless. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we walk around and never make any change in the world. We never do anything. That's not what I'm saying. Whatever you believe in God, whatever you believe, this is an opportunity to connect deeper. Whatever background you're from, whatever your beliefs are, is buying new clothes going to get you closer? Is watching hours of television going to get you closer? Is constant distraction going to get you closer? Maybe your answer is yes. I'm not giving you an answer. I'm just asking the questions. Is strife, is gossip, is that going to get you closer? Then look over here at this. Relaxation. Getting out of the way. Dropping the willfulness. Is that going to get you closer to where you're headed? Is that going to open you up more to the love, the grace that's always there for you? You have to answer these questions for yourself. It's not a leading question. Just notice. And as we shift out from this podcast, from this deep relaxation, we're not there yet. No need to move. But as we shift out in the coming minutes, as we move out into the world, what I'd encourage you to do is notice when you find yourself getting distracted by something you want to buy, something you want to listen to, watch, consume, something you want to eat. Notice what happens if you pause. We're not pushing it away. So I have the desire, let's say I have the desire to go eat something. What if I pause? What if instead of turning on the TV when I have that urge, I pause and I sit quietly for a moment? Which is going to get me closer? And I purposely say that without saying closer to what? You know. Which is going to get me closer to where I want to be? Which is going to deepen my relationships? Which is going to contribute to loving my neighbor, my family, my friends? Does all that self-interested activity, all that seeking for stuff, does it ever bring me closer? So sometimes this feels like a discrete time where we come in and we relax, we sit quietly, and then we walk back out into the world. We drop it all. Yeah, we feel more relaxed, maybe less anxiety, stress. But is that it? What happens if we carry this openness, this relaxation, this bliss? What if we carry it with us? What happens then? So from here, you can always just slowly come out on your own, so you don't necessarily need to follow my instructions here. Maybe you choose to move throughout your day after this, or if you're falling asleep, to just drift off. Maybe you choose to carry part of this with you. Moving as feels natural, rising as feels natural, but noticing all those little distractions that want to pull you away from what really matters. We're going to give into those distractions for sure. What happens if we take a moment, or a few moments, and notice what really matters to us? What's most important in our lives? Are the things that I'm doing, the activities I'm undertaking, bringing me closer to those I love and care about? Or do they create a separation? Is my attention pulled from that love for them back to myself? Or does that love just get bigger? Notice now your body sitting here, resting. Notice the chair, bed, couch, whatever you're resting on, the floor. Notice the places it supports the body. Notice your breath, those inhales and exhales. And maybe down at the tips of your toes or fingertips, you start to move just a bit. Small movements, gradually increasing in size. Fingers, toes, hands and feet. Wrists and ankles may circle. Elbows and knees can bend, shifting from hip to hip. Shoulders roll. Head can roll side to side, chin to shoulder on each side, ear to shoulder on each side. Eventually reaching overhead, full body stretch. Maybe the legs get into it, especially if you're seated in a position that allows that, or if you're lying down. And then at your own pace, take the deepest breath, long, slow breath in through the nose. Sigh it out. It's like you're waking with new energy. Ready to approach everything that's out there with curiosity and love. Who are you meant to be today? Let's explore. This is Chris with retrosession.org, and this has been Step into Bliss.